Hi, I'm Rick Dior, and welcome to part 4 of my Melodic solo series, where I play classic bebop tunes on the drums, and we work on comping and soloing. So that was one of my favorite tunes. It's called Moose the Mooche by Charlie Parker. And I first discovered this tune when I was about 13 years old. I was listening to the radio, WBGO, which was out of Newark at that time. And I'd pick it up real clear in New York and even New Jersey. And I heard this tune come on, and it had this kind of funky, kind of groovy beat, Kind of a real jazzy thing, and then they started playing this head over it. And then the bridge swung, so it would actually go from this. And boy, was it swinging. So I didn't know who that was, so I stayed, and they would play sets and then announce the tunes. And it turned out to be a record called Mel Lewis and Friends that came out in 1977. And I went out right away and bought it at this place called Sam Goody at the mall. And that's the way we used to do it. And I love that record. It was just such a great record. And, Mel Lewis, I wasn't that familiar with him at the time. I'd heard some Thad Jones stuff, but I was just kind of really getting into jazz. And I played that record thousands of times. I actually wore it out. You can actually do that if you play a record enough times. There's nothing left in the grooves. So then I just bought another copy. And I still listen to it. It's just something about that record that's real organic. I know they recorded it really quickly in like one day. And that's a young Michael Brecker on that record. He just sounds tremendous. So I totally recommend listening to that. But that's the first exposure of me to this great song. And then obviously I, did some more research and found out that it was written by Charlie Parker, and went and checked out the original Charlie Parker recordings, which were much different than that recording, obviously. And so I listened to as many versions I could find. Now, if you search this tune on Spotify or Apple Music or any of these streaming services, you'll find dozens and dozens of versions of this tune. So I like this tune so much because it's so syncopated. It really personifies the bebop sound. The syncopation is just off the wall, and you could come up with so many great soloing ideas from these little motifs that are here. Now, this is a rhythm changes tune, just like Oleo. So it's an AABA section. So the head is 2 A's, and then a bridge, and then another A. So 32 bars total. In this case, unlike Oleo, this bridge has a melody, a great melody. So the whole tune, is straight through on the head, playing the melody. And you should learn this on piano or vibes or another melodic instrument, so you can get it in your ears here. A good version of this is in the Charlie Parker Omni book. It is not in the original real book, so I would definitely suggest tracking this down. You probably find it online. Probably someone put it up there too. So let me play this slowly for you on snare drum like I've been doing, so at least you can get the rhythms. I'm going to go pretty slow here. Earlier I was playing it at the marked tempo of 224. That would mean on 2 and 4 the metronome would equal 112. We'll go all the way down to 180 here, and I'll play this for you on snare drum. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the head all the way through. You'll notice how I'm doing some mixed stickings, sometimes paradiddle, sometimes I'm doing some of these rim shots. A lot of drummers back then did that. Jimmy Cobb, Philly Joe Jones. So that's, just a sound you should have in your arsenal. So now I'll play it for you coordinated on the kit with the ride cymbal, the snare drum, the bass drum, and the hi-hat. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So that's how I would suggest working through it. I'm singing it in my head. I don't know if you can hear me singing when I'm playing, but I'm always doing that. That is so important for phrasing, for timing, for musicality. Now that's a tricky head to do, so it's going to take you a while. You need to do it in pieces, 4 bars at a time. Let's talk about some of these motifs, and we'll work backwards. This last motif I love. Ba-ba-dee-up, ba-ba-dee-up. It's like a slur. Those are some different ways you can interpret that. All right, so the sticking I'm using is right, and then right, right, left, right. It's very rudimental. A lot of this stuff can be played with kind of the rudimental stickings. So when you take those kinds of motifs, you can play them around the drums and displace them. So you see what I'm doing there? I'm moving it over. That's called permutation. When you move things over, a 16th note or an 8th note, creates very interesting little motifs there. The next one you can do is the first thing that happens, which is bump, bump, ba-dum. So. So again, I'm taking that 1-bar motif and I'm moving it around the drums using permutation. I'm actually playing 2 drums at the same time, which gives me kind of a harmony sound. Now, for this tune, I'm tuning my drums in fifths. I really like that tuning for playing these kinds of melodic things because you have the octave and then the dominant chord as well. It's a 4th or 5th, depending if it's forward or backwards. Now, these are calf heads, and it's very humid here in August in North Carolina, so I'm doing my best to keep them under control, but probably by the end of the video, they're going to be dropping down. That's one thing you deal with calf heads. Let's take another one. A really nice one is this thing, and I'll put it up on the screen here. The 3rd line, so. Ba-da-ba-ga-da-da-da-do-wop. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see there I'm doing, once again, different iterations of that motif. And you just I play these things for a long time. Like I'll get that motif and I'll play for 15, 20 minutes all around the drums. And if I screw up, you know, I work on that particular thing that I screw up. In other words, physically or mentally. There's two ways to mess up. You want to get it so physically you don't make mistakes, and that's where all this technique comes in, all right? Mentally, you know, you're not going to want to do that either, but that does happen as you get older, and I'll vow to that. So the last one we'll go over is this thing on the bridge, and I like these 4 bars. One, bop bop ba da ba doo wah ba da ba doo ba bop ba ba doo ba da ba doo bop. Sorry, losing my voice. So 1. So those little upbeats, those make great little motifs. Let's use those 4 bars as a motif. We'll put on the metronome. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you see there, once again, I'm taking that motif and moving it around all the way towards the end as triplets. You can do that as well. Any bebop tune works for this kind of thing, but these are the best ones, the Charlie Parker ones. I've said that a bunch in these videos. They're just the most rhythmic, kind of just joyous tunes. I love to play over them. And once again, like I've been telling you, put on a recording of it and play over the head, so you're really getting the feel of it. So we're going to boost up the tempo now, and I'll play through this thing, and I'll play a solo for you, and I'll play some time. I'll do 3 choruses of it. So we'll start out with the head, I'll play coordinated, and then I'll play some time, and then I'll play a solo around the drums. And we'll do this at the original tempo of 224. So put your metronome on 112. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.